Live from the campus of Western Kentucky University, you're watching News Channel 12, where commitment makes the difference.
Tuning in to News Channel 12, live at 1, I'm Gabrielle Crumpleman.
And I'm Lauren Floyd. With mail-in voting being a popular option this year, some may worry about voter fraud. Reporter Jillian Ryan has more on what precautions the state is taking to make sure voter fraud is avoided.
Mail-in absentee voting is a popular choice for voters that don't want to get out and potentially expose themselves to COVID-19. And with only a select few voting polls open this election season in Warren County, many voters have switched to mail-in voting. Secretary of State Michael Adams says why voters should not be scared of their mail-in ballot being a victim of voter fraud.
Fortunately, we were able to work out with the Beshear administration utilization of the driver's license database for us to be able to check IDs on voters when they use the portal at govoteky.com to request an absentee ballot. We've had absentee voting in our state my whole life and then some. It's actually been in our state constitution as a right since 1945. Our clerks are very used to handling absentee ballots and treating them with the same sort of protocols they treat other ballots. And let me add here also, unlike some states on the West Coast where they register you to vote without your prior knowledge and then they mail you a ballot you didn't ask for, we do neither of those things. In this state, we require you to register and we require you to request a ballot. That helps prevent against fraud on its own. Also, we barcode track every single ballot envelope. We let the voter track the ballot, him or herself, online at govoteky.com. You have full transparency with respect to your ballot. You apply at govoteky.com, and then you can see if the clerk's received your request, if the clerk has processed your request and sent out your ballot, and if the clerk has received your ballot back and processed your vote.
For extra security on your ballot, Adams says how your signatures can help.
Require the voter who is voting absentee to sign in two places on ballot envelopes, not the ballot. The ballot remains secret. There's no tag between the ballot and a particular voter, but the ballot goes in envelopes where you got to sign. Those signatures are detached from your vote before it's counted, so we don't know who you voted for, but we use those signatures to verify your identity in order to ensure that no one stole your vote. That's a process that's been in place since I started voting absentee 26 years ago.
Today is the last day to request your absentee ballot in Kentucky. Once completed, you can mail it back in or take it to the drop-off box at the Warren County Courthouse. For News Channel 12, I'm Jillian Ryan.
Absentee ballots must be requested by tonight at 11:59. To request an absentee ballot and get more information about voting, visit govoteky.org.
Taking a look now at some notable races that you'll see on the ballot this November. The biggest, of course, is the presidential race with Donald Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden as the two front runners. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is up for re-election, looking for his 7th term in Congress, and his opponent on the Democratic side will be Amy McGrath. Locally, 10 individuals are running for 4 seats on Bowling Green City Commission, and for the 5th seat on the commission, Todd Alcott is running for mayor against 2 write-in candidates, Chris Page and Tom Morris. Again, Election Day is November 3rd. The FDA says they want at least 2 months of data before authorizing the COVID-19 vaccine. As the coronavirus remains a global health concern, medical professionals are doing the best they can to try to find treatment for the virus. I found out the efforts happening right here in Bowling Green and how you could play a role in finding a solution.
Medical professionals are encouraging recovered COVID patients to donate plasma to help treat the virus. WKU junior Kevin Gomez donated back in July after having contracted COVID.
That was a way that we could actually help those who could be at the hospital, could be potentially in serious conditions and potentially get better. So that person could be my neighbor, my friend, my brother, my sister, my mom.
According to BPL Plasma, plasma is the part of blood that carries antibodies. Plasma antibodies have been used to treat many diseases, including smallpox, tetanus, and hepatitis B.
We need those antibodies to send off to the lab so that they can try to find a way to combat COVID. We're trying to take the antibodies that your own body created and fought it off with to make a way for other people to use it.
BPL Plasma of Bowling Green joined other centers through the COVID-19 Plasma Alliance back in May as a part of the ongoing effort. Roach says a first-time donor can expect to spend a couple hours on their first donation after providing documents and going through numerous tests. After the plasma is extracted, it is sent out of state to labs that work on testing for COVID antibodies and research.
It's relatively painless. I mean, the needle's kind of big, I'm not gonna lie, but it doesn't hurt more than if you were to donate red blood cells.
Patients are compensated for their time and can continue to donate for the COVID program until there are no more antibodies in their plasma. The CDC says more than 40,000 COVID patients have received plasma treatments.
We're working with other plasma centers. We realize that this is more important than any kind of, competition or business rival. This is something we all need to work together on. So we pulled together with as many people as we can and are really working to try to figure out how to do something about COVID.
If you or someone you know is interested in donating, you can find more information on their website at bplplasma.com/beat-covid-19.
Today's conditions might feel like a typical fall day, but I hear that might change soon. Darius?
Well, we've had a dry start to the month of October, and high pressure continues to dominate the area, but we are going to be tracking those rain chances. Currently 81 degrees right now in Bowling Green. We got that dew point at 56 degrees. Humidity is up there, and that's just ahead of our next system that will be moving on in here. Temperatures across the area right now generally running in those lower 80s. 84 degrees currently in Evansville, and then 83 degrees in London, Kentucky. You got that exception of a 70-something degree reading right now in Knoxville, currently at 79 degrees. Now, planning by the hour as you go through the afternoon, we're going to be into those lower 80s. Those clouds are going to be on the increase, though, and we are going to be talking about those rain chances early into your Saturday morning, and that's going to be associated with Delta as the remains of Delta makes its way on in here. So that dry stretch ends, Delta is approaching, then we could be talking about a cool down into next week. That's all included in your Storm Center 12 full forecast.
Thanks, Darius. Coming up on News Channel 12, how you can help out four-legged friends in need.
And learn about how the changes regarding housing and residence life at WKU.
On Wednesday, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear reported 2,398 new cases of COVID-19 in the Bluegrass State. And the Kentucky Department of Health reports a running total of 77,455 cases since the start of the virus. But looking at WKU's numbers from this week, 18 new cases reported from this morning from students and no new cases from faculty and staff, giving WKU a running total of 718 cases since July 1st. The next scheduled update will be next Tuesday. Colleges around the world have had to make changes to stop the spread of COVID-19, which includes college students who live in dorms. News Channel 12 reporter Chris Beesmore took a deeper look at these changes on WKU's campus.
Students at WKU have seen quite a few changes to campus life because of the pandemic. Freshman Drew Castleman is living at McCormick Hall and has seen those changes firsthand.
The dorms so far, they've been doing, I feel like, a pretty good job. I see the Jay in there all the time, constantly wiping down the bathroom. I feel like they're super clean compared to actually normal. They always have us making sure we wear our mask, offering us hand sanitizer if we need it. They've been doing a really good job.
The change to online classes this year have been very convenient for some students since they don't even have to leave their dorms. Other students don't really enjoy the experience.
At times it's a struggle to have Zoom classes. I've had a couple professors, the internet's gone out. It's hard to hear them sometimes. I feel like I'm not focusing on instruction as much, especially since I'm in my dorm.
With classes mainly taking place inside their dorms, resident assistant Patrick Beworth says student needs have changed.
I wouldn't say it's been hard. I would definitely say it's kind of different just because a lot of people aren't going in and out of the rooms as much.
RAs and students still have to hold themselves accountable for how they handle themselves in classes and in their dorms.
We have to make sure that everyone that's living in the residence hall or that comes in is always wearing a face mask whenever they're out in the hallway or out in the lobby. So that's one of the bigger changes that we've seen within HRL this semester, this year.
For News Channel 12, I'm Chris Beesmore.
Students and RAs will continue to follow the guidelines of being healthy on the Hill.
The Bowling Green Humane Society is fundraising in a creative way. News Channel 12 reporter Carly Stone learned how the group is raising money for shelter animals during this pandemic.
Before coronavirus, the Bowling Green Warren County Humane Society hosted large in-person events and fundraisers. But now, because of the ongoing pandemic, these events had to be canceled and funding is tight.
Everybody's working extra hard. We're saving money. We're penny pinching. We're trying to figure out different ways we can make those dollars stretch.
That's why the shelter staff had to think of some out-of-the-box ways to raise money so they can keep saving lives. Shelter educator Tracy Moser came up with the idea to start using Facebook Live to auction off donated items.
Several people have donated things that we can't use. So all this stuff started accumulating in the pole barn. Well, one day I was up there and it was like, you can't find anything because there's so much stuff that we can't use, but all these amazing donations that people have given us. And I said, I've got a light schedule this week. Let me try to sell some of that stuff. And I just put it on Facebook Marketplace, and I started a group, and I was just like, hey, we've got some stuff for sale. Everybody was like, I'll buy that, I'll buy that.
The For Sale fundraiser for the Bowling Green Warren County Shelter Animals Facebook page now has over 4,400 members. Tracy and the staff go live on Facebook Thursday evenings from 5 to 9 to show off their donated inventory while their online audience comments to place their bids.
Retail value is $6.
Customers are then asked to come pick up their claimed items the next day from the Davis Mosby building behind the shelter. They also have the option to view the inventory or do some shopping there 3 days of the week.
All the donations are going to get sold, and we're going to use that money. It goes straight up to the shelter, and they use that money to save lives.
For News Channel 12, I'm Carly Stone.
For more information on this event and other fundraisers, you can visit their website at www.bgshelterpets.com. Coming up next in weather, Darius Mack is back to share what to expect for this homecoming weekend.
And later in sports, Deshaun Van Cleve will recap the WKU versus NTSU rival matchup from this past Saturday.
Well, we had another 80-degree day yesterday. We reached a high officially at the Bowling Green Regional Airport was 80 degrees. That's 6 degrees above our normal of 74. We had a record high of 93 degrees back in 1916. Lows started off in those upper 50s to right around 60, and we had a record low of 23 degrees back in 1889. I'm really impressed they can go back that far. No precipitation to talk of, but those changes are on the way, especially as we go into the weekend. Currently, right now, we are in the lower 80s, at least at 81 degrees here in Bowling Green. Humidity is on the rise. We're at 59%, and we've got that southwest wind at 10 miles an hour, so it's allowing those temperatures to be very much on the warm side out there. We are in those lower 80s, 83 degrees currently in Louisville, and then 81 degrees further north you go into Covington in the Cincinnati area. And then we have a 70-something degree reading, the only 70-something degree reading we see on the temperature plots here. Currently 79 degrees in Knoxville right now. So Delta is going to be moving in, and that's especially on your Saturday and even into your Sunday. The remains of Delta, that is, will be moving in here. We're going to be tracking a lot in the way of rain and wind, and that's also going to have an impact on your homecoming game as well. Tonight, temperatures are going to be in those lower 60s. We're going to be seeing an increase in the cloud cover. Can't rule out that stray shower chance overnight tonight. We're going to keep things mild. Those winds are going to be from the south at about 8 to 10 miles an hour. Going to the homecoming game, WKU versus Marshall. Kickoff begins at 6:30. Those temperatures are going to be in the upper 60s, but you're going to notice we're going to hang on to the clouds out there and even tracking rain chances for halftime and headed home. So definitely going to need that rain jacket on the way to the game, and especially as you're leaving the game, as we're going to be seeing rain moving in from the remains of Delta. So tomorrow those temperatures are going to be in the low to mid 70s for highs. Showers and then gusty at times associated with those showers moving through. Winds are going to be from the east to southeast at around 10 to 12 miles an hour. Your 7-day forecast, we're going to keep those rain chances throughout your weekend. Highs are going to be in those low to mid 70s, but Monday a high around 80 with a small shower chance. And then as we go into your Tuesday, we're going to be clearing things out. Highs are going to be in the 70s and then even mid 70s by Wednesday. By Thursday, we could be tracking somewhat of a weak disturbance moving in, could bring us a small stray shower chance. Highs are also in the 70s there, but lows will start off in the mid 60s and then bottom out in the lower 50s. Back to you guys at the desk.
Definitely not looking forward to that rain tomorrow. Thanks, Darius. After the break, Deshaun Van Cleve has exciting news about WKU volleyball.
That's right. Coming up, I'll share the new title Travis Hudson has received. The WKU football team clutched their first W after beating rival MTSU on the road 20-17 this past Saturday. Quarterback Tyrell Pickram completed 21 of his passes for 188 yards through the air and 2 touchdowns, while also adding 72 yards on the ground. Wide receiver Xavier Lane started the game as well, notching career highs in all categories. Lane hauled in 7 catches for 73 yards and the first touchdown of his career that tied the game going into halftime. Lane and the Hilltoppers will be looking to continue this momentum going into this homecoming match tomorrow against unbeaten rival Marshall. Kickoff is slated at 6:30 at Hunch Stadium. Now with football back in action, sports fans can still enjoy a good game, but is the fan experience the same? News Channel 12 reporter Spencer Campbell has more from outside the stadiums.
Football season is taking a different turn this year, and teams are feeling the effects of the pandemic. Sports fans alike usually enjoy a good round of fantasy football with friends, but this season is proving to complicate how fantasy players interact with games and friends.
It's been weird because, like, for this year, my friends and I weren't able to get together and actually have a draft. It was all done through, like, texts and online, and a couple people didn't even draft. They just did auto drafts. So it kind of took the personal aspect out of it because people didn't want to get together and do something. So that kind of sucked.
Players like Taylor feel the same way, and some players are losing the fun factor when it comes to drafts.
You could say that in, like, a social aspect, they're being hindered for sure. Like, I work in a sports bar, and our tables are only at half capacity because of it, and so we can only have so many fans watching games, and it causes, like, place to be backed up or people just not to go out and watch games with their friends like they used to. So I think it's definitely hindered the sports world in a social aspect.
Fans are getting aggravated, and to some, it shows.
Especially like when it comes to fantasy, you've invested into these players, and it's hard a lot of times to like trade on the spot. Like, let's say a player tests positive like the day before the game. It's really hard to change your team up based off of that, and then you're just missing a big part of your team. And it's going to be interesting to see how it goes this year.
For News Channel 12, I'm Spencer Campbell.
With the COVID-19 pandemic, the pro football season forces fans to find new ways to socialize and figure out how to make necessary changes on the fly. WKU's volleyball team went from playing an actual opponent for the first time in months to playing themselves in less than 24 hours. Travis Hudson's Lady Tops were originally scheduled to play their season opener against Mercer this past Saturday, but the match was canceled due to COVID-19 issues. Instead of not playing at all, the team decided to hold an inter-squad scrimmage during the scheduled match time. Extra Point was the only media crew present for the scrimmage that saw the black team defeat the red team by a score of 2-1. The match against Mercer will be rescheduled at a later date. WKU volleyball head coach Travis Hudson, along with John Asher and Dr. Jack Britt, were inducted at noon today as members of the 29 induction class of Western Kentucky's Hall of Distinguished Alumni. Under Hudson's wings, he has led the team to 12 NCAA tournaments in the last 18 seasons and 15 conference championships. In 2018, Hudson had another significant moment, grabbing his 600th win as head coach. The induction ceremony can be streamed on WKU Alumni Association's Facebook page. That looks like all the time we have for sports. For more in-depth coverage, tune into the Extra Point Live, 3:30, and follow us on Twitter at WKU Extra Point. Back to you, Lauren, at the desk.
Thanks, Deshaun. Coming up, we will take a look at the Delta hurricane with Storm Center 12 reporter Graham Martin.
The Delta hurricane makes landfall in just a few hours. Storm Center 12 meteorologist Graham Martin is in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, covering the severe weather event.
Graham Martin here. We are at Jennings High School in Jennings, Louisiana. We are in the path of Hurricane Delta. Currently we are receiving tropical storm force winds and torrential rainfall. The hurricane is supposed to make landfall later tonight around 6 or 7 p.m. As of now, we're just receiving tropical storm force winds, but that's all I can report. And we have some flooding in the area, but we're not close enough to the storm surge, so we are quite safe for the moment. If we need to, we're going to be evacuating inside this high school over here, and because the principal offered us protection if we need it. But as of right now, we are fine. The winds are only expected to get worse, but the good news is most people in this town have taken precautions and evacuated. They do not want it to. They remember what Hurricane Laura did to this exact same area a couple weeks ago. They don't want to go through it again, so they're evacuating and boarding up businesses. So I think people are playing it quite safe and getting out and taking this storm really seriously.
Man, that weather looks really crazy. That wind and all that rain, man, that's just really intense.
It definitely is. I don't even know what I would do in that situation.
Yeah, especially with weather coming up this weekend too. But that's all the time we have this afternoon. Thanks for making News Channel 12 your source for news.
Have a good night.